Hey, what's up guys? It's Kyle from Three Brothers Disc Golf and welcome to my 2022 In the Bag. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I'm going to be throwing this season, some of my go-to discs, and some discs that are kind of unique to my bag. Just for some baseline information, I'm an 876 rated player. The ratings update just came out for January recently and my rating went up a few points, so 876 rated. So if you're around that area, maybe you can compare what you're throwing to what I'm throwing and maybe try out some of the stuff I'm throwing. But also feel free to leave some comments down below about suggestions that you have for my bag. There's definitely holes that I haven't filled yet. And I have a bunch of discs that I cycle in and out to try to fill those holes, but right now these are my go-to discs. So yeah, I'll start with putters and then work my way up to drivers, and hopefully you guys learn something, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. So first up, I'll talk about what I'm putting with. This season, I'm putting with Prime Burst Judges, hopefully. I've been back and forth between Lynx and Judges, but I've been sticking with Judges for a while now, and I think that they've definitely helped me improve my putting game. Obviously, I need to get out and do some more putting practice. I think that's really what's holding me back in my game, but I've been feeling more comfortable with the Judges, so that's what I'm going to be putting with. But yeah, these are my Judges. Next up, I've got my throwing putters. I have 4 throwing putters, very similar molds for 3 of them, and then the other one is different. This is my straight flying throwing putter. It is a baseline Electron Medium Envy from Axiom. If you haven't seen, this is just a James Conrad threw in at Worlds. Obviously not the same exact disc, but Electron Envy is what he threw there. Mine's a little bit more overstable than that. Obviously, James's is really beat in. But this one is a really nice straight flyer. I can throw it flat and it'll just go dead straight. If I put it on hyzer, it'll finish left at the end, and then Annie, it'll hold that turnover line. So just a really nice point and shoot putter. Really just my go-to disc for any holes that are like 250 or less. Next up, I've got 3 tactics in my bag. This is my go-to approach disc, either sidearm or backhand. My tactic here, this is a baseline Exo Soft tactic. I got it from a tournament this past year. I mainly use this one backhand, either fan grip or power grip for approach shots, 200 and in. And then these 2 are if I really need a strong left finish. This one's a little bit more straighter, and then this one I just got out of the mystery box from this past year, if you saw the video from the mystery box. But I use them all for approach shots. It just kind of depends on what I need or if it's a windy day. So yeah, these are the rest of my throwing putters. Next up, I've got my mid-ranges. I only have 3 mid-ranges in my bag right now. I kind of cycle out mid-ranges a lot, try to figure out what fits my hand best. I just don't have that much distance with mid-ranges. I can throw my Envy just as far as most of these, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I've been loving the Buzz recently. I've got 2 Buzzes in my bag right now. This Z Buzz is newer. I recently got it like a month ago. It's a lot more overstable than this one, so I've been throwing this one if it's a little windy or if I need a hyzer shot. It's more of like an overstable mid-range right now. Sometimes I have a Rock 3 in my bag, but right now this one's pretty much serving that purpose, and if I throw it flat, it'll kind of just ride straight forever and then finish left at the end. And then this one will ride straight for forever and finish straight or finish right sometimes. It is one of the Ledgestone buses from this past year, and it has been just a go-to workhorse mid for me. At my tournament in Moraine recently, I was throwing this thing a bunch, and I've also gotten an ace with this disc, so yeah, I've just been really happy with this Buzz. And then the last mid-range I have is a Z-Line Meteor from Discraft. When I first got this thing, it wasn't actually as flippy as I wanted it to be, but the more it's gotten a little beat in and the more I've worked on my form and getting that spin right, this has been just a really nice hyzer flip mid as well as a turnover mid-range if I need it. I don't throw a ton of forehand, so this can be really useful in the woods if I need a shot that goes to the right. But yeah, Z-Line Meteor, it's been a really nice mid for me in the woods. Moving on to fairway drivers, probably my favorite type of disc in disc golf. I really just like how far I can throw them as well as how much I can control them. I kind of consider fairway drivers anything from like speed 6 to speed 9. I know that some companies call 9 speeds distance drivers, but I'll be referring to these as fairway drivers. But to start it out, I got 2 T-Birds. These are my, I guess, go-to fairway drivers for anything that's like 300 to 320, maybe even like 280 if I'm like needing some strong hyzer. This T-Bird is a little bit more beat in. I actually traded for it. It's one of the first discs I ever got. It is an Avery Jenkins World Champ T-Bird, I think 2009 I want to say. So it is a very old disc. I am lucky to have this. I had no clue like how rare it was when I first got it. I mean, I've been loving this fairway driver a lot. And then I have this Champ T-Bird that I got from my brother Josh for Christmas, and I've been throwing this a lot for more like overstable shots in the wind, and yeah, these just complement each other really well. Next up, I have two Thunderbirds in my bag. I've got a Big Germ Tour Series Thunderbird as well as a Champ Thunderbird. I really like these discs for anything that's a little bit further than what I can get with my T-Birds, but honestly, I'm throwing these a lot more than my T-Birds right now. They're a little bit more controllable. This one's more overstable than this one, but they're both nice. I can throw them flat and they'll reliably finish left. This one I can put a little bit of flex on it as well. But yeah, I'm just really liking these for like 320 foot shots. I can crank on them, and then these ones I also throw sidearm. I don't throw a lot of sidearms, but I've been throwing these ones really nice on the sidearm, so I'm gonna keep working on that. And my max sidearm distance is like 280, so definitely need to get some field work in, but Big Germ Thunderbird, Champ Thunderbird, big fan of them. Next up, I have two sort of unique discs in my bag. I have a Infinite Disc C-Blend Scepter. It is like a Firebird mold, but I just really like how this flies. I think it has a little bit more of a straighter flight than a Firebird, but it has like a harder fade, which is kind of weird to describe, but it holds that glide a little longer and then fades hard at the end. It's just a really workable, overstable fairway driver, kind of like a Felon or, you know, those discs like that, but I just really enjoyed this thing and it feels really comfortable in the hand. So if you're, you know, struggling with the Firebird, but you still want that overstable thing, I'd check out a Scepter. And then the last one of my 9 speeds is an Insanity from Axiom. I've been loving this thing at my tournament in Moraine. I was throwing hyzer flips with this thing like crazy. It is a 9.5 -2 1.5. And in the Proton Plastic, I thought it'd be a little bit more overstable, but this thing came out of the box flippy, and I just really enjoy throwing it on hyzers, let it stand up and ride out to the right, sometimes finish left. It can also be used as a roller disc. I don't use it to that extent too much, but I've just really been enjoying this thing. So if you've never tried out an Insanity, but you like something like a Valkyrie, I would definitely try this out. It is really good for just like long drives, and if you have a slower arm speed and you're struggling with distance, I think this is something that could really help you out. And that brings me to my distance drivers. I've got 5 distance drivers in my bag right now. Sometimes it changes. I cycle through a lot of different distance drivers trying to figure out what I like the best, but these are my 5 go-to ones. If I'm playing in a tournament, these are what usually make my bag. I'll start it out with the most overstable and finish with the most understable. So I've got the Z-Line Force in my bag. It is a workhorse when you got a headwind. I can throw this thing not as far as my other distance drivers, usually max out probably about like 350, maybe 330. But if I get a good crank on this thing, 350. But a really good distance driver. Obviously people have heard of the Force with like Adam Hammett starring it and Paul Macbeth. So just, it's a great overstable disc if you're worried about something flipping over and you just need a reliable straight shot that finishes left. I would check out the Force. Next up, I've got a Halo Star Wraith. I've had this disc pretty much since the beginning. About 2 months after I started playing, I got this thing. I just thought it looked so cool, and it's been in my bag ever since. I couldn't really throw it when I first started playing, but as I've gotten better at disc golf, I've been able to throw this thing really well. I would say this is my go-to distance driver if I need a good like 350 foot shot and it's not too windy out. This thing will just kind of go straight for forever and then finish left at the end. It's just really nice and workable, and I can throw this thing really straight. So if I'm in the woods and need a straight long shot, sometimes I'll be reaching for this Wraith, and I've just been a big fan of it. The Halo Plastic is usually more overstable, but this thing is beaten in to the point that it's just dead straight. So maybe I'll have to pick up another one for that overstability, but I really like this Wraith. Moving on to my big workhorse distance driver. This is my Sakibot Destroyer. Sakibot, obviously, Ricky Wysocki, now moving to the Dynamic, so won't have the pleasure of getting these destroyers anymore. But I just love this thing so much. When I first got it, it was board flat, overstable, and I couldn't really throw it very far, but it's beaten into the point that it is just a slightly understable destroyer. I would say like it kind of flips up and turns right and then comes back left at the end. Exactly what I want in like my go-to distance driver. So if I'm looking at any shot that it's like a par 4 and I just need the biggest shot and it's, you know, a little bit windy but not too bad, I'm reaching to my destroyer and just ripping this thing. You've seen me throw it in a bunch of videos. Next up, I have a disc very similar to that destroyer, just slightly more understable. It is a Kona Panis Tour Series Emperor. Just like Ricky, Kona is now going to Dynamic, so if you wanted one of these Emperors, they're not going to be made anymore, so might as well grab one on Infinite when you still can. But I really like this Emperor. It's just slightly more understable than the Destroyer, so if I got a tailwind and I'm looking for a max distance shot, I'll reach to this Emperor. It can be pretty flippy. If I throw it flat and there's no wind, it's probably going to turn over. But if I give it the height, it'll glide out. But yeah, my maximum distance with this thing is probably like 380 to 400 if I get a good grip. I'm not usually breaking 400, but every once in a while I can. But big fan of the Kona Panis Emperor. Alright, and the last disc in my bag is a Star Strike. This is more of a utility disc for me. I don't throw it very often. If I'm like going uphill, I'll throw it because it'll be a little bit more overstable. But this thing's pretty flippy. I throw it on about this much hyzer to flip up, turn right, and then sometimes finish left at the end. But it is a maximum distance driver for sure. I've been throwing this thing every once in a while if I need to hit a gap and I need to power down. So I'll throw this thing kind of soft and on a little bit of hyzer or just flat. Make sure I hit that gap and it'll still get that turn and get that distance out of it. I can also throw this thing sidearm just because I don't really have the arm speed sidearm, and I'll throw it on some hyzer and it'll flip up flat, go straight. But I've just been really enjoying this disc. It doesn't get thrown too often. It's not super beat in, but if you're looking for a distance driver that's going to be like maximum distance, you have a decent arm speed, but you're not super great at controlling your angles. You can throw hyzer, but you can't like throw great flat shots. I would recommend getting a Strike and just try and rip that thing on hyzer and let it flip and do the work for you. But big fan of Star Strike, and that's it for what I've got in my bag. As you guys can see, I have a Dynamic Disc Cadet bag. It is like their cheapest bag on the market. It fits honestly like 20 discs in it, so it's really nice. Usually I don't have that many discs in my bag, but for this video I wanted to include a little bit more. But yeah, I'm hoping to upgrade my bag soon. Honestly, I feel like you can play disc golf with any bag, it doesn't really matter, but it would be nicer to have just a more like compact bag that doesn't hurt my back as much. But that's all I've got for my in the bag, so I'm looking forward to this season. I've been putting a lot of practice in, and even though it's been cold and snowy out, just trying to get that putting practice in has been really important to me. I've got a tournament coming up in March, and then hopefully a lot more throughout the rest of the year. So stay tuned to some more videos from Three Brothers, and leave a comment below if you want to see Josh and Zach do one of these. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace.